My wife said she was pregnant, but I'm sterile. Then it turned out the father was our neighbor. And then, that he was sterile too. So who is the father? Exploding head. It started on an ordinary Tuesday. My wife, Emily, came home from work, glowing like she had just won the lottery. She sat me down, held my hands, and dropped the bombshell. "I'm pregnant," she squealed. Now, most husbands would be over the moon. I felt my stomach drop straight to the earth's core. See, I had the mumps when I was 13. The kind that messes you up. The kind where the doctors sit your parents down and say, "Yeah, your boy? He's not gonna be making babies. Ever." I had made my peace with it. Emily and I had talked about adoption. But now, she was sitting there, grinning ear to ear, carrying a baby that I damn well knew couldn't be mine. My brain short-circuited. I just stared at her, trying to process the absolute circus this moment had become. "That's impossible," I finally managed to say. Her smile twitched. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath. "Emily, I'm sterile. I've always been sterile." Her face went pale so fast I thought she might pass out. Then, the panic set in. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. That can't be right," she stammered. Maybe the doctors were wrong. I almost wanted to believe that. Hell, it would have been easier. But no, science wasn't about to gaslight me today. So, I said the only logical thing a betrayed husband could say. "Whose baby is it, Emily?" And that's when the waterworks started. The sobbing. The apologies. The, "I never meant for this to happen." The usual script. But between the hiccups and sniffles, she let something slip. It was just one time with Tom. Our freaking next-door neighbor. At that moment, I saw red. Tom, the guy who borrowed my tools and never returned them. The guy who invited himself over for BBQs and ate all my ribs. The guy who had the audacity to bang my wife and knock her up. I stormed out of the house and went straight to his doorstep. I pounded on the door like a debt collector. Tom answered, looking way too relaxed for someone about to get his ass kicked. "We need to talk," I growled. "Sherman, what's up?" I wasted no time. "Emily's pregnant. And she says it's yours." If I was expecting guilt, shame, or even fear, I got none of it. Instead, Tom blinked at me, let out a nervous chuckle, and said, "That's not possible." I clenched my fists. "What do you mean, not possible?" He scratched his head. "Dude, I had a vasectomy 2 years ago." My brain went into error 404 mode. "Wait, what?" Tom just shrugged. "Yeah, man. Snip, snip. No swimmers. Doctor guaranteed it." Now, if Emily had claimed she got pregnant from immaculate conception, I would have laughed her straight into the nearest church. But this was next-level soap opera bullshit. So, being the logical man I am, I dragged Tom to the clinic with me. We both took paternity tests. I even paid for express results because I couldn't wait a week to find out just how deep this rabbit hole went. 2 days later, we got the call. Tom wasn't the father. Now I was double pissed. Not only had my wife cheated, but she hadn't even had the decency to know with whom. I went home, fully ready to flip the dining table WWE style. Emily was crying on the couch, looking like a contestant on a reality show about to be eliminated. "Tom isn't the father," I spat. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. What? But it had to be him." "Oh, had to be?" "Well, it wasn't," I snapped. "So I'll ask again, Emily, who else?" And that's when her crying hit max volume. It took 30 more minutes of emotional torture, but eventually, she whispered a name that made me lose all faith in humanity. Jason. Our other neighbor. I swear to God, I almost laughed. What is this, a cul-de-sac breeding program? So, off I went, dragging Jason to the clinic for another test. At this point, I felt like I should have had a punch card. Get 3 tests, the 4th one's free. 2 more days. Jason wasn't the father either. Now, I was on a full-blown Maury Povich quest. Who was next? The mailman? The grocery clerk? The damn dog walker? Emily was hysterical. "I don't understand. I swear it was one of them." "Well, it wasn't." I shouted. So either you were blackout drunk during your whole phase, or you need to start remembering some details. Then, a horrifying thought struck me. When did you conceive exactly? She sniffled. About 4 months ago. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my calendar, and suddenly, everything clicked. 4 months ago. The time she got really weirdly excited about a food delivery guy who kept bringing her extra sauces with her order. The guy she tipped in cash when we usually did card. The guy she had insisted on answering the door for. I looked at her, my expression a mix of disbelief and disgust. You slept with the delivery guy? Silence. Then the tiniest, most pitiful whisper. Maybe. I had to sit down. I had to breathe. Because this wasn't just cheating. This was next-level clownery. We did the final test. And, of course, the results came in. The father of my wife's child was the Uber Eats guy. Hired an escort, and when she arrived, it turned out to be my wife. I always thought I had a pretty solid marriage. Nothing perfect, but nothing tragic either. My wife, Sarah, was a personal trainer, always leaving for late-night fitness sessions, and I had a decent office job that kept me occupied. But then I got bored. Real bored. Midlife crisis hit me like a truck, and instead of buying a sports car or taking up skydiving, I made the worst decision of my life. I decided to cheat. A friend of mine mentioned an elite escort site, and I figured, why the hell not? One-time thing, no emotional attachments, just a little spice to break the monotony. I scrolled through the profiles and found one that caught my eye, Lola. She had this sultry, mysterious look, with long brown hair and a mask covering half her face in the photos. The site had glowing reviews about her skills and discretion, and I felt like a kid sneaking a cigarette behind the school. I booked her for a night at a fancy hotel. Pricey as hell, but I justified it. I deserved this. The night came. I checked into the hotel, showered, ordered some whiskey from room service, and waited. I was nervous as hell but also buzzing with anticipation. Then the knock on the door. I opened it, and nearly had a heart attack. There, standing in a tight black dress, looking just as shocked as me, was my wife. I swear, for a full 10 seconds, we just stared at each other. It was the kind of silence that only happens in horror movies right before the murder scene. What the F? I started, but she was already stepping inside, closing the door behind her. I could see the panic in her eyes. The gears were turning in both our heads. She wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to be here. And yet, here we were. James? She finally croaked out. Lola? I shot back like an idiot. We just stood there, both caught red-handed, neither of us knowing what the hell to do. And then, in the dumbest move of all time, I tried to make a joke. So, do I still have to pay? Her eyes narrowed, and for a second, I thought she was going to murder me right there in that hotel room. But instead, she just sat down on the edge of the bed and buried her face in her hands. Are you serious? She muttered. I mean, what the hell is happening here, Sarah? I stammered. I thought you were at the gym. She let out a bitter laugh. And I thought you were a faithful husband. Touché. Now, you'd think the logical next step was screaming, fighting, maybe even a good old-fashioned hotel lobby brawl. But we were both too stunned for that. Instead, we started talking. Turns out, Sarah had been doing escort work for about a year. She didn't start out planning to do it. It was just some side gigs for extra cash, but then she realized she was really good at it. The money was insane, way more than her personal training job. So you just sleep with random dudes for money? I asked, still reeling. She shrugged. Kind of like how you just tried to sleep with a random woman for fun? That one hurt. I didn't have a leg to stand on. I was about to cheat on her, and she was about to cheat on me, professionally. It was like one of those awful soap operas where you scream at the TV, just talk to each other, you idiots. For some reason, instead of a complete meltdown, we ended up ordering more whiskey from room service and just laughing about how completely insane the situation was. At some point, I asked the one question I probably shouldn't have. So, were you ever with any of my friends? She smirked. Remember your boss, Greg? I nearly choked. We stayed up all night talking, airing out all the dirty secrets we'd been keeping. And weirdly, it felt liberating. Neither of us were innocent. Neither of us were victims. We were just two people who had totally wrecked their marriage in the dumbest way possible. The next morning, we decided on a divorce. Not out of anger, not out of hatred, just because we had both clearly checked out a long time ago. It was the most amicable split imaginable. But here's the twist. A year later, we got back together. Not as husband and wife, but as business partners. See, Sarah had built up a huge network of clients, and it turned out I had a talent for management. I handled bookings, finances, security, the whole operation. We went full-blown Vegas-style escort empire with an entire team of high-end workers, all run under the guise of a luxury wellness service. It was sketchy as hell. But the money? Oh, the money was good. So yeah, I went from nearly cheating on my wife to running an escort business with her. Life's weird like that. Introduced my girlfriend to my dad at a family dinner. Turns out they already knew each other. Very well. Nauseated face. You ever have one of those moments where your entire life collapses in real time? Yeah, that was me at family dinner last year. Let me set the stage. I had been dating this amazing woman, Vanessa, for about 4 months. She was smart, beautiful, and a little older than me, but honestly, that just made her hotter. We had this crazy chemistry, like the kind you see in movies where people are making out in elevators and knocking over furniture. She never talked much about her past relationships, but honestly, I didn't care. We were having fun, and I thought things were getting serious. Then came the worst dinner of my life. I had told my dad, Greg, about Vanessa a few times, and he seemed genuinely happy for me. "Good for you, son," he said, clapping me on the back like I had just closed $1 million deal. Oh, if only I knew. One night, I decided it was time. Vanessa was going to meet the family. My dad had invited me over for a fancy dinner, and I figured, why not introduce my new girlfriend to him? It felt like the perfect opportunity. So we drive over to my dad's place. Vanessa is dressed to kill, black dress, heels, makeup on point. She even brought a bottle of her favorite wine as a gift. We walk in, I call out, "Dad, we're here." And then I hear a cork pop. We turn the corner, and there he is, my dad, standing at the dining table, holding 2 glasses of the exact same wine, grinning like an idiot. Well, he says, pouring the drinks. Look who finally decided to introduce me to his girlfriend. And that's when it happened. Vanessa stopped breathing. Her eyes went wide as hell, like she had just seen a ghost. And then Dad froze too. They were looking at each other like two people who had just realized they were on a plane that was about to crash. Meanwhile, I'm standing there like an absolute idiot, holding my girlfriend's coat, trying to figure out why my father and my girlfriend are looking at each other like a deleted scene from a soap opera. Finally, Vanessa lets out this weird little laugh. Oh my God. I blink. What? Dad slowly puts the wine bottle down. Vanessa, you didn't tell me you had a boyfriend. And that's when my soul left my body. What? I swear to God, my brain shut down like a Windows XP computer. I stood there, mouth open, absolutely unprepared for what was about to unfold. Dad rubs his temple like he's getting a migraine. Son, how do you know Vanessa? I stared at him. She's my girlfriend, Dad. How do you know Vanessa? Vanessa, at this point, looked like she was about to evaporate into thin air. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then, Dad does something that I will never forget. He sighs. He picks up his wine glass. He takes a sip, and then he says, "Well, oh shit." Now I'm fully panicking. Dad, what the hell is going on? Vanessa finally speaks. So, this is awkward. I almost started laughing from pure shock. Did you date my father? She bites her lip. Define date. Oh hell no. I turned to my dad, expecting him to deny it, to call this a joke, to tell me I was on some hidden camera show. But this man, this absolute menace, just closes his eyes for a second and mutters. I knew she looked familiar. I wanted to throw up. Right there. At the dinner table. Dad drains his wine glass in one gulp. Meanwhile, Vanessa is doing mental gymnastics trying to come up with something, anything, to make this situation less insane. Okay, she says, holding up her hands. Let's just breathe. Breathe? Girl, what? I collapse into a chair. I need someone to explain. Right now. Dad clears his throat. Son, I may have been seeing Vanessa a few months ago. How many months? I scream. He scratches his head. I freaking died. We've been together for 4 months. Vanessa groans. Okay, technically I met Greg first, but you've been calling him Greg? At this point, Dad looks at her. Wait, you didn't tell him about us? Vanessa shakes her head. I didn't know you two were related. You never talked about your son. Dad actually has the audacity to laugh. Well, this explains why you liked older men so much. But I wanted to die. Dad and I sat there, staring at each other, realizing we had been sharing the same woman. I wanted to burn my entire dating history and start over. Vanessa wanted to evaporate. And the worst part? My dad just shrugged, topped off his wine, and said, well, I guess I win. Just win. I stormed out. Vanessa ran after me, and my dad? This man just sat there and started eating like nothing happened. I accidentally found out my husband was cheating on me, but the worst part? It was with his own brother. You know that feeling when you think you have a normal, stable marriage? Until I didn't. I was chilling at home, scrolling through my phone when my husband, Mark, came back from the gym, dropped his stuff on the couch, and went to shower. Nothing unusual. But then his phone buzzed. Now, let me be clear. I wasn't one of those paranoid wives who snoop through their husband's phone. But that day, he had left it right next to me, and the name on the screen caught my eye. Baby Redheart. That was weird, because I was Baby Redheart in his phone. Before I even had time to process it, the call answered itself. The phone was on that setting where if you don't pick up, it auto-answers on speaker. And then I heard a voice I would recognize anywhere. Hey, but last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. I froze. My blood turned to ice. But it wasn't just because my husband was cheating. It was because the voice on the other end of the call was his brother. Damn, brother. At first, I thought my brain was short-circuiting. Maybe I was hearing things. Maybe my exhaustion had reached hallucination levels. But nope. His brother, Ryan, kept talking. Kept talking. I hate sneaking around like this, but I just can't stay away from you. At that moment, I forgot how to breathe. I sat there, staring at the phone, waiting for some kind of explanation that wasn't happening. My body felt paralyzed, like I was witnessing a glitch in the Matrix. And then, the worst part. Mark walked out of the shower. Towel around his waist. Hair wet. Casual as hell. He saw me holding his phone and immediately froze. That's when I realized he knew. He knew what I had just heard. There was about 5 seconds of silence. 5 long, painful, slow-motion seconds where we just stared at each other, waiting to see who would speak first. So I did. Dude, are you serious? His face went through every stage of grief in real time. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. He opened his mouth, closed it. Opened it again. Nothing. So I did the only logical thing. I put the phone on speaker. Hey, Ryan, I said, voice shaking. Guess who's listening? Silence. Then a panicked, oh, shit. You don't say. Mark finally snapped out of his shock and lunged for the phone, but I was faster. I yeeted that thing across the room like it was a cursed artifact. It hit the couch and bounced onto the floor. And that's when the screaming match started. I wish I could say I handled it with grace. That I took the high road and walked out with dignity. I did not. I lost my damn mind. You cheated on me with your own brother? I shrieked. Mark, still half naked, was panicking. Babe, listen, I can explain. Oh, this I had to hear. Please, I said, crossing my arms. Tell me how you accidentally fell into bed with your own sibling. He started stammering out some pathetic excuse about how it just happened, and we never meant to hurt you, and it didn't mean anything. Oh, really? It didn't mean anything? So you just tripped and fell into your brother's arms? Repeatedly? Over and over again? Long enough for Ryan to be calling you babe And reminiscing about last night? I threw his towel at him. That's when he switched tactics. Instead of apologizing, instead of taking responsibility, he got mad. Why were you even looking at my phone, huh? He snapped. You don't trust me? I laughed. I actually laughed. Mark, I said, still laughing, I didn't need to look at your phone. Your boyfriend called me. He went bright red. At this point, my rage had transitioned into pure entertainment. This was so bad it had wrapped around to being hilarious. Then, my brain hit the next awful realization. Oh my God, I muttered. Your mom is gonna find out. That's when Mark really started panicking. Because if I was mad, his mother was going to commit a homicide. See, his mom was one of those traditional, hyper-religious, family values types. Finding out both of her sons were sleeping together? She'd probably have to be put on oxygen. So I did what any betrayed, scorned woman with a talent for theatrics would do. I grabbed my phone. And I called his mom. Mark screamed. Like a man fighting for his life. No, wait, please, stop. Too late. His mom picked up on the second ring. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I took a deep breath. Oh, just found out your sons are having sex with each other. How's your evening? Silence. Then, a single horrified, what? Mark literally collapsed onto the floor like his soul had left his body. Meanwhile, Ryan was still on the other end of Mark's phone, listening to the whole thing. And that, dear readers, was how I not only exposed my cheating husband, but also ruined an entire family dinner dynamic forever. After that, I packed a bag and left. I moved in with my sister for a while, and Mark tried texting me 100 times, but what was I supposed to say? Hope you and Ryan work out? We divorced. Obviously. And the best part? At the next family gathering, Mark and Ryan couldn't even look each other in the eye. Confessed to cheating in voice chat, only to realize my friend was streaming. And my girlfriend was watching. Skull. I should start by saying that I am an absolute idiot. I had a great girlfriend, a solid group of friends, and a pretty chill life. And I threw it all away in the dumbest way possible. It all started on a Friday night. My girlfriend, Mia, told me she was heading to bed early because she had a long shift in the morning. Meanwhile, my best friend, Jake, was streaming on Twitch. We had this regular Friday night gaming session. Nothing special, just a bunch of us hopping online, talking trash, and pretending we were good at FPS games. I figured Mia was already asleep, so I grabbed my headset, joined the Discord call, and settled in for a long night of gaming. That's when I made the worst mistake of my life. Somewhere between getting absolutely obliterated by a 12-year-old with God-tier aim, the conversation shifted to relationships. The usual dude talk. Who's still dating who got dumped, the usual gossip. And then, in my infinite stupidity, I opened my mouth. Man, you won't believe what happened the other night, I said, chuckling like a complete moron. What happened? Jake asked, his voice casual. I leaned back in my chair, feeling like the absolute king of the world. So, you guys know Mia's best friend, Jessica, right? A few guys in the call went, yeah? Well, let's just say I had a real good time with her a few nights ago. The chat went silent. Like, dead silent. You'd think I just admitted to committing a war crime. I thought they were just shocked by my legendary move, so I kept going. Bro, she was all over me. I barely even had to try, I bragged, completely oblivious to the nuclear bomb I was about to set off. And the best part? Mia has no idea. And then, it happened. A single voice cut through the silence. Mia's voice. Oh really? My soul left my body. For a second, I thought I was having some kind of out-of-body experience. Like maybe I was hearing things. Maybe the guilt in my subconscious had just manifested into her voice. But no. Jake was streaming. Jake's Twitch chat was spamming OHE at lightspeed. My Discord was lighting up with messages. And right there, in the public chat room, Mia was listening the entire time. She hadn't gone to sleep. She had joined Jake's Twitch stream because she liked watching us game. She had heard everything. I sat there, frozen, praying to every god I could think of that maybe she didn't hear the worst part. And then, as if to personally drag me into the depths of hell, Jake burst out laughing. Dude, you do realize I've been live this whole time, right? I stopped breathing. My entire life flashed before my eyes. Why, streaming? I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. Jake was dying laughing at this point. Bro, we got like 200 people watching. Including your girlfriend. That was it. The game over. No respawns. I frantically opened Twitch, and sure enough, the chat was going insane. People were tagging Mia. They were clipping the moment. Clipping the moment. It was already on Reddit. It was already on Twitter. I was about to become an internet meme. I ripped my headset off, sprinted into the bedroom, and saw Mia sitting up in bed, her phone in her hand, her face absolutely stone cold. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She just looked at me and said, "Get out." And that was it. I packed a bag, left the apartment, and spent the next 3 weeks couchsurfing at my buddy's place, dodging texts from mutual friends who all now knew I was the biggest dumbass on the planet. And Jessica? Oh, she blocked me the second she saw the clip. Turns out, she wasn't trying to ruin Mia's life, just a one-time mistake. Now, Mia is thriving, single, and probably dating some dude who doesn't humiliate himself in front of a live audience. Meanwhile, I get tagged in memes about myself at least once a month.